Hi, this is Arlene Romasanta, once again, your subject matter expert for the course Data Security. Today, we will cover Module 3, the Data Lifecycle and Data Security. At the end of the course, the participants will be able to understand data security, identify essential elements for data security, learn the data security policies, recognize data security best practices. For this third module, we will be talking about two topics: the stages of data lifecycle with security and the threats to data security. Let us talk about the data lifecycle and tie it up with data security. What is data lifecycle? It refers to the information lifecycle. It encompasses all the stages that your data goes through, from data creation, storage, use, sharing, archiving, and destruction. It refers to the entire time that data enters your system. Now, let's go through the data lifecycle one by one. First in the cycle is the data creation. Data creation also refers to data collection. It is the process of gathering data from a variety of sources. How do we collect data? How do we securely collect data? What are our key considerations? We have to ensure that there are controls on the devices used to collect data. Also, the system used to capture data upon collection. Second, in the cycle is the data storage. How do we store data? How do we securely store data? What are our key considerations? We have to ensure that there are controls on the devices used for storage. Implement physical protection against data theft, loss, or corruption. Ensure that a data backup strategy is in place to recover data in the event of data loss. Third in the cycle is the data use. It is the process of actually using the data being collected to serve the purpose of the organization. It involves data processing, transfer, and converting data into meaningful and useful information. How do we use data? How do we securely use data? What are our key considerations? We need to ensure that we have confirmation of the source upon use of the data. It must also be encrypted while in transit to ensure its safety. Data access matters as well when it comes to data use. There must be a signing of role for authorized use and access of data. Fourth in the cycle is the data sharing. It is about authorizing others to access and use your data. It involves data publishing and implementation of open data concepts. How do we share data? How do we securely share data? What are our key considerations? We need to ensure that we have reasonable controls to protect data being shared. Classification of data is also essential if you would declare them as open data. Meaning, as your data is shared, others are given permission to use and reuse. Fifth in the cycle is the data archiving. It is the process of moving data that is no longer actively used to a separate storage. It is also about keeping them in a storage for a longer period of time. How do we archive our data? How do we securely archive our data? What are our key considerations? We need to ensure that we have the proper storage medium for archiving, and we have a systematic approach or policies in place. Also, it must be clear for how long are you going to keep your archives. Sixth and last in the cycle is the data destruction. It is the process of destroying data in a storage medium. It is disposing of data that are no longer needed and preventing data misuse. How do we go about data destruction? How do we securely go about data destruction? What are our key considerations? We need to ensure that you follow certain rules on data destruction. Also, all data that are no longer needed must be included in the process of destruction. There are methods available to securely destroy data in your storage media. Now that we already know what needs to be considered in every step of the data lifecycle, we also need to watch out for threats in data security. There are external threats, internal threats, and others. Let us talk about the external threats. They could be your competitors within the same operating environment, such as yours. Hackers, which could be a group of people that was able to penetrate the system, or that were able to penetrate the system. Cyber criminals are those who commit cybercrime. Organized crime groups are a group of individuals who organize themselves to commit crime. Espionage, which is usually for governments to obtain political and military information by using a spy. And lastly, terrorist, which is a group who wants to intrude in the system to gather information and able to gain political advantage and to inflict violence and war. Next is internal threats. Data security is also being compromised due to incompetent and untrained staff. There are also those who are disgruntled employees who want to get back or retaliate to the organization. Malicious insiders are those who felt good to test or destroy the state of data security. And of course, trusted people. You do not have an idea when you will be betrayed by the people you trusted to secure your data infrastructure. This is the reason why there is now the so-called zero trust technology. The concept is that you cannot trust anybody in your organization. There are also others that seem to cover natural disasters and local problems. First is the fire that could destroy the organizational and personal data. Flooding that could damage data due to physical damage of the infrastructure. Earthquake, which could put your data in an unstable state. Natural disasters are the calamities mentioned above. Power outages are interruptions that can destroy data in an instant. connectivity loss, which can lead to network data loss. For the fourth module, we will be talking about two topics: data security policies and best practices in data security. In the Philippines, we have the Data Privacy Act of 2012, Republic Act number 10173, otherwise known as the Data Privacy Act, is a law that seeks to protect all forms of information, be it private, personal, or sensitive. It is meant to cover both natural and juridical persons involved in the processing of personal information. When we say natural persons, it refers to the human beings, while juridical persons refer to non-human beings like organizations and/or entity. The Data Privacy Act of 2012. It is a 21st century law to address 21st century crimes and concerns. It protects the privacy of individuals while ensuring free flow of information to promote innovation and growth. It regulates the collection, recording, organization, storage, updating or modification, retrieval, consultation, use, consolidation, blocking, erasure, or destruction of personal data, and ensures that the Philippines complies with international standards set for data protection through the National Privacy Commission, or the NPC. Privacy is dead, and social media holds the smoking gun. What can you say about this? You may ask yourself, is it true? Remember that your postings are your data. Your data are your privacy. It mirrors your belief, your lifestyle, your thoughts, your behavior, your possession, your friends, your family, and even your personal information. And the cyber criminals are just watching and waiting. You have to fight for your privacy or you lose it. If everything has been there, the data has been captured, analyzed, and before you know it, somebody might predict your next move rather than you. So let us take data security and data privacy seriously. Now let us move on with the freedom of information. The issuance of Executive Order number 2 of Series of 2016, which was signed on July 23, 2016, enables the implementation of FOI. Executive Order number 2 operationalizes in the executive branch the people's constitutional right to information. EO number 2 also provides the state policies to full public disclosure and transparency in the public service. EO number 2 is also an important enabling mechanism to promote transparency in the government's administrative process. Through FOI, citizens are empowered to make a formal request to get information held by the government, barring certain sensitive and important data related to the nation's security. FOI complements continuing proactive information disclosure efforts where agencies are duty-bound to publish information in the spirit of openness and transparency. The Presidential Communications Operations Office, or the PCOO, oversees the implementation and operationalization. Another policy in our country is the Open Data Philippines, which can be found in data.gov.ph. Open Data Philippines aims to institutionalize good governance by making government data available to the public. This involves collating datasets from different government agencies, cleaning them for better understandability, and uploading them to a website in open formats. According to OpenDataHandbook.org, open data is data that can be freely used, reused, and redistributed by anyone, subject only at most to the requirement to attribute and share alike. Data security is a critical element to regulatory compliance. Regulatory frameworks make data security a key aspect of compliance. Now, here are some of the major compliance frameworks that put data security at the forefront at the international level. General Data Protection Regulation. It is a regulation in EU on data protection and rights of individuals over personal data and regulatory environment for international business. California Consumer Protection Act of 2018, a regulation that gives consumer control over personal information collected from them. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, or HIPAA, of 1996. Regulation that establishes national standards to protect individuals' medical records and other personal health information. Sarbanes-Oxley is also another regulation. It protects the investors from accounting errors and fraudulent financial practices. Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, or the PCI DSS, set of security standards to ensure secure data processing of consumers' data. And lastly is the International Standards Organization, or ISO 27001. This is an international standard on how to manage information security. Now, let me share to you some of the best practices in data security. It is recommended that organizations must have an access control policy. It details the access available to employees with regard to organizations' data and information systems. These may cover user access, network access controls, operating system, software controls, and passwords. Endpoint security. Endpoint security systems protect the endpoints on your network or in the cloud from cybersecurity threats. The endpoints are considered the entry points of end-user devices like desktop, laptop, and mobile devices. Business Continuity Plan. Business continuity focuses on keeping business operational during a disaster, while incident response policy address the security breach or cyber attack and reduce recovery time and costs. Disaster Recovery Plan. Disaster recovery focuses on restoring data access and IT infrastructure after a disaster. We cannot stop natural disasters, but we can arm ourselves with knowledge. So many lives wouldn't have to be lost if there was enough disaster preparedness. Is this correct? Let me add to knowledge. We can also arm ourselves with tools, guidelines, policies, technologies, and people. It wasn't raining when Noah built the ark, right? So, in this case, data security means, or in data security, preparedness is the key. That ends our Module 4. Thank you.